Well, hello everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Big Blue Rain of Fire, hosted by yours truly. I know, it's been a while since I've done a show like this. It's been a while, but with all the craziness of the NFL that's been going on for the past couple of weeks, I figured it might be time for you. I figured it might be time for me to just, address certain things about my Giants. But before I begin about that, first and foremost, I would just like to shout out the sports affiliation because this is possibly one of the best spaces in all of Twitter. Like I said, I'm not calling it X again because I refuse to. So this has just been sponsored by yours truly, the sports affiliation, and just everything about these guys is just so absolutely amazing. I mean, the fact that they just go in and day out, and they just perform just these amazing articles, amazing shows like the one that I'm doing right now. So it's very it's very interesting to see, how these guys work and how these guys operate. So once again, I just want to shout them out because, without them, I really wouldn't be here. So shout out to you guys. And shout out to the audience as well, because you guys rock as well. Boy, oh boy. But with that being said, let's begin, shall we? During the time that I'm now speaking to you guys, we are now currently sitting at 3-8, right? We're currently sitting at 3-8, and as of right now, we hold the number 5 overall pick of this upcoming draft, right? So, in order to really understand how we got here since the last time I showed you guys what exactly happened, right? Let's take a look at the schedule, right? So this schedule right here, right? So the last time I talked to you guys, I think I was talking about either the Bills or the command. It was bo- okay, so it was after the Bills game, right? In which we lost 14-9, right? That was October 15th, right? And then we faced the Commanders. We won that game. It was 14-7. But since then, we were on a 3-game losing streak, right? We lost a close one to the Jets in overtime. It was 13-10, in which we should have won this game. We should have won this game, but due to some questionable coaching decisions made by Brian Daboll, I mean, it just wasn't meant to be, unfortunately. And that's just kind of how he lost this game, right? And then Uh, and I believe that this is the game. And no, was this game? Or was it Tyrod Taylor? Did Tyrod Taylor get injured in this game? I don't think he did. I think he got injured. Wait, no, he got injured during the Jets game. Okay, now I remember. And then we go on to the Raiders. Daniel Jones comes back. He had a couple of, I wouldn't say good plays, but just like everything was just not going well for us. And then it was made even worse when Daniel Jones tore his Achilles during this game right here. And this is a game which featured one of our former players being now the interim head coach of the Raiders, Antonio Pierce, right? He comes in, right? He does this whole spiritual cleansing of this Raiders organization, right? There's a sense of urgency in this organization. There's a sense of, you know, wanting to play for this organization, right? And they come in and they do their thing, and we get popped in the mouth 30-6. It wasn't a good game at all. Like Jesus Christ, man. To be blown out like this in this fashion, it just really it doesn't sit well with me, unfortunately. It doesn't sit well. And then the final game of our 3-game losing streak, of course, came at the hands of our division rivals, the Dallas Cowboys, who bested us the very first week. It was 40-0. And now in this game, we see that they continue to best us again. So they do a divisional sweep on us. It was 49-17, and it was just god awful. It was brutal. And this is where Tommy DeVito comes in for his first NFL start. He throws for a couple of, I believe he threw for 86 yards and two touchdowns in this game, which was very, I mean, it really didn't say anything much considering we were down pretty much 20, 28 to nothing going into the half, but it just meant it didn't really do any justice. We were just basically out there getting practice reps and all of that fun stuff, right? And then the game that just happened yesterday, we ended our three-game losing streak. We best the Commanders 31-19. And I mean, in actuality, I mean, we actually put up a decent amount of points. We put up 24 points, right? Well, at least the offense puts up 24 points. And then the defense comes in during the last few seconds of the game, picks off Sam Howell. It was Isaiah Simmons, and he walks it into the end zone for basically a pick six, right? So that was how the final score was 31-19, right? Throughout the majority of this game, right, it was a very tight knit game, right? As you can see, right? I mean, the Giants were basically up 14-9 going into the half, right? And then we didn't score at all during the third quarter. And then the Commanders basically kicked the field goal in the third quarter, and it was kind of like a defensive battle for throughout most of the third quarter, I should say, right? And then in the fourth quarter, this is when things start to happen. Some weird stuff starts to happen, right? We basically score them in the fourth quarter 17-7. 17-7, right? And you have to wonder, where was this offense all throughout, you know, during those three-game losing streaks, right? And as we look towards the game leaders of this game, right? Tommy DeVito, this is his second start for us, by the way. He goes 18 of 26, 246 yards and three touchdowns. He basically had a pretty solid day, even though he was sacked 9+ times. Excuse me, he was sacked 9+ times. Saquon Barkley, it took him a while for him to get going. And then he had that huge run in the third quarter, I believe, which gave him positive rushing yards for the day. He did his thing too, 14 carries, 83 yards. So, all in all, a good day for Saquon Barkley, right? And then our leading receiver of that game was Darius Slayton. He had four catches for 82 yards and a touchdown, basically. And then it was Saquon who basically did the majority of like the bulk of the work. I mean, he pretty much had himself a day. He had four catches for 57 yards and two touchdowns in that game. So it was really good seeing Saquon really go off like that. But at the end of the day, we can't face the Commanders every single week. Every single week there's a different team, and we have to game plan for said team, right? But all in all, it's still a pretty good win from the Giants' offensive side of things, right? And then you go to the uh, defensive side of things. I think a name that really sticks out for me would have to be Kayvon Thibodeau. I mean, this young man is really coming into his own. I mean, he's already at 10 and a half sacks for the season. So this is his second season, by the way. Excuse me. So Kayvon Thibodeau was really that much of a force for us on defense. And I'm not being remiss when I say that Bobby Okereke was really coming in clutch. I believe he had two forced fumbles in this game. He had two forced fumbles, right? Which was absolutely phenomenal. And then you talk about Sam Howell getting picked off three times. Let's take a look at who the recipients of those picks were. So the first pick of the day belonged to Nick McLeod, right? The second pick of the day belonged to Darnay Holmes. And then, of course, as the aforementioned pick six belonging to Isaiah Simmons to basically ice this whole game away, right? And I know that there was this huge fight that happened. I believe Sam Howell was trying to get into the end zone to score. I believe this happened. When did this happen? I believe this happened in the second quarter, in which Curtis Samuel got ejected, and I think Cordell Flott got ejected too. So they'll be hit with some heavy fines this upcoming week. But other than that, I mean, it was pretty much a good outing by the Giants, who really haven't. I mean, looking at this record at 3-8 with the one of the well, excuse me, the worst offense in the league. You know, we're basically pretty much dead last in points scored for this team. So you know, it really does feel good to at least try to salvage what was of the season, right? But the season, excuse me, the season is still not over yet, right? We still have plenty more football that's left to be played, right? And as I say this, right, this upcoming week we're facing the New England Patriots, right? And you could easily say that this is a generational tank bowl, right? Because to my recollection, I believe that the Patriots have the number 3 pick of this 2023, no, excuse me, 2024 NFL draft. So it's gonna be a closely tight game to watch, right? And I say this because it just basically it is what it is. So I can't really sit here and say to you guys that this is going to be an easy game for the G-men because no game is ever easy. Period. I just simply, I just don't know what to think. I don't know what to do. I don't know what to say. Uh, it's pretty much basically what it is what it is at this point. Oh, hi Bella. Thank you so much for tuning in. And then of course shout out to my man JC. What's up, JC? Let's go, DeVito. So the expectation is that DeVito will remain on our starter, let's say up to week 14, right? And I believe week 14, that is when Tyrod Taylor is supposedly gonna get off of IR. And then week 14, I believe that is when we face. I believe it's the who do we face? Because after the Patriots, there's our bye week. Our bye week is week 13. Now we're going into week 12. And then week 14 is us against the Packers. So that's when Tyrod Taylor is supposed to come back. Although I'm not too sure who to roll with here. I'm not sure who the coaching staff is going to roll with, either Tyrod or DeVito. So that remains to be seen. And then looking at our remaining schedule, right? Looking at our remaining schedule, after we face the Patriots, it's the Packers. Well, it's our bye week, and then it's the Packers, it's the Saints, and then we have to face the dreaded Eagles on Christmas Day, right? December 25th. Then we face the Rams on Then we face the Rams on New Year's Eve, and then we face the Eagles again to pretty much end the season, right? So there's 6 more games left to be played plus the bye week, right? Where do we go for the bye week, right? Where do we go for from here? I honestly don't know. I have no idea. I mean, some people say that we might be tanking. Well, if that was the case, then why did we win against the Commanders yesterday, right? There's been numerous reports that have been said that about John Mara that they want to stick with Daniel Jones in 2024. Oh well, we're not drafting a QB, this, that, and the third. It is what it is. But I feel like this QB class is just way too talented for us not to go get one. I mean, I understand that there's other glaring holes that this Giants roster so severely needs, as in wide receiver. Of course, I would be remiss if I didn't mention how terrible our offensive line has been for the duration of the past couple of months, right? I would be remiss if I didn't say that. And then we could also use help in the secondary as well. So, and it couldn't hurt using another linebacker back there as well. So, honestly, I did not expect this season to go the way it did. I really don't. I really didn't. I mean, I'll be honest with you guys. I mean, I was one of the very few people that was so optimistic about this season, right? I literally predicted the Giants to have anywhere between 10 to 12 wins this season. And right now it's not. And right now it hasn't been the case. Right? It hasn't been the case. We're 3-8. We're pretty much at the bottom of the division. And I have no idea where to go from here. I mean, the expectation is that we try to at least be competitive, but I don't know. I guess we're competing for at least a top five draft pick, right? Because let's say we go into MetLife Stadium, right? We face off against the Patriots, right? If we win this game, right? Let's take a look at the implications as if we do in fact win this game, right? If we do win this game, then that means the Patriots will have a even higher draft pick, right? And knowing the Patriots this season, because I live in New England and the Pats fans here, they're well, let's just say that they're really passionate about their team, right? Trust me, I've seen countless years upon years of just being amongst Patriots fans. They're very passionate about their team here, right? Mac Jones isn't doing like since his rookie season. Mac Jones really hasn't progressed the way in which the Pats really want him to progress. And so I have a feeling that they could easily go after Caleb Williams in this draft they do if they do lose to us this upcoming Sunday. I think that's kind of the expectation for the Pats for Patriots thus far, right? Me personally, I mean, like I said, I'm always gonna root for this team to win. You know what I mean? But at the same time, it's like Jesus Christ. I mean, if we win, then we might find ourselves being out of the top five when it comes to draft picks, right? Well, at least in the first round, I should say, right? I don't know. It's just kind of like a game of just cat and mouse being played at this point, right? Now, going into this Pats game, right? This upcoming Sunday, right? So there's so many different things in which we can say about the Pats, right? I mean, the Pats fans, I mean, Patriots, they pretty much have the same record as us. I know that they're coming off of their bye week, but still, it's just Jesus Christ. Like we can definitely find ourselves in the good old fashioned tank pool, right? And it's funny because, excuse me, it's funny because I'm seeing all of these different articles, right? And it's saying here that the Giants are opening up as a 3.5 point home underdogs against the Patriots. So what does that tell you? It tells us that the Patriots are basically favored to win this game, even though this game is at MetLife Stadium and not at Gillette Stadium, right? So it seems to me that we're projected to lose even though we're at home, which I don't know. I mean, like, look, don't get me wrong. I just don't trust Mac Jones in that offense, and I believe our defense can and will give Mac Jones a fit, especially coming off of the edge. You're talking about Kayvon Thibodeau, and I believe Aziz Ojolari should be back in this game. I saw a couple of glimpses of him during that Washington game. If he's healthy, then those two basically pretty much be screaming off of the edge, right? And we can't forget about Dexter Lawrence either, who throughout this year has shown to be one of the league's best interior defensive linemen, right? And then you have Bobby Okereke, who is basically a tackling machine that can easily change the outlook of this game, or that can easily change the pace of an opponent's offense, right? We've seen what he did with Washington the other day, just forcing those fumbles, basically changing the tide of the game. So I really, I really don't trust the Patriots offense that much. But then again, as I'm saying this, knowing that my team basically has the 32, like the last ranked offense when it comes to scoring, the fact that we put up 24 points the other day really says something, right? Tommy DeVito was just absolutely killing it out there. And yes, I still understand that Bill Belichick is just still a good defensive mind. The Pats defense, I mean, it really hasn't been all that great. I understand that Matt Judon is out for the season, and Christian Gonzalez is out for the season. So those will be two key factors into this game, right? Do I, tr- it's the offense of the Patriots that I don't trust. Do I trust defense, knowing that Belichick is still he's been known to turn it up against rookie quarterbacks. Let's not sit here and be remiss about it, right? Let's not sit here and be remiss about it. It is what it is at this point. Me personally, do I think Tommy DeVito is going to have a repeat performance of what he did against Washington? Maybe. Like I said, I'm not rooting against the kid. I'm just rooting for him. You know what I mean? I have a feeling that he will ball out in this game against the Patriots. And as far as Saquon goes, I have a feeling that he might ball out in this game too. Like I said, I really don't think that the Patriots defense is gonna give this offense fits, even though we just gave up 9 sacks to Washington. It's just the sacks that are concerning, right? Most of them, I mean, most of them weren't even on the O line's fault. As crazy as it sounds, DeVito's still trying to get adjusted to the offense, so these things are gonna happen, right? Those 9 sacks can't happen again, and those 9 sacks. Let me. Washington didn't even have Montez Sweat and Chase Young, who they just both traded away to Chicago and San Fran, respectively, right? The fact that Washington front was able to generate 9 sacks was really alarming, right? The same thing here can't happen against the Patriots. It just can't happen. So we have to figure out a way to keep our quarterback upright. We have to. I know that Evan Neal wasn't playing in this game, but I don't know. We're going to see how healthy Evan Neal is, especially during these practices. And if he's good to go, then he's good to go. If not, then it's going to be that backup right tackle, Tyree. I believe it's Tyree Phillips. So, I mean, we're going to see what happens. So, in light of all of this, right? In light of all of this, right? Let's see. We still have about a good 7 minutes left. I'll try to trim it down to like 30 minutes instead of like an hour from now on, because as much as I would love to talk about Giants football all day and every day, doing this by myself, it really is something. So, it is what it is, right? So just speaking on my opinions on how the season went for us thus far, I'm just completely and utterly deflated. I mean, I don't know what else to tell you. Jesus Christ, I didn't expect us to really have that season in which, the year before we went to the playoffs, we got a playoff win for the first time since 2011. That was when we last won the Super Bowl. And then the year after that, which is this year, by the way, to completely fall apart at the seams. This is just reminding me of that 26. It's reminding me of this 2017 season, because if you if you remember the 2016 season, right? We had just let go of Tom Coughlin, right? Who was the Giants' longtime head coach since the early 2000s, right? We won two Super Bowls with him. Apparently, there was just friction between him and the front office at the time, and so he was ultimately let go. Like I didn't want him to be let go, but these things happen, right? And then comes Ben McAdoo, our new head coach at the time. And then we spent a lot of money in free agency, right? We got guys like, Janoris Jenkins. We got guys like and even our homegrown talent too. So I mean, 11-5 that season, right? 11-5 that season. We go out to Green Bay and we just fail miserably, right? But there was still promise. There was still hope that we would come back the season afterwards, and we would just and try to improve on the season that we had that previous year. But then 2017 was when everything basically hit the fan. That was when it basically hit the fan. We were injuries on top of injuries. I remember the significant injury of that being to OBJ, in which I believe he tore his ACL in that game. I believe it was the game against the Chargers, and it was just absolutely brutal. I That game alone, we've had more injuries than I could basically count. And in that 2017 season, we went 3-13, and that was the season in which, excuse me, that was the season in which Eli was unfortunately benched, even though it technically wasn't his fault. It was basically the whole team just falling apart, right? We had basically benched him for Geno Smith, and it was against the Raiders, I believe. And it didn't work out well for us in our favor. So, and I believe after that game, Ben McAdoo was fired, and Steve Spagnuolo was kind of like our interim head coach at the time, who is now the defensive coordinator for the Chiefs. So it's kind of reminding me of that season, right? Now, after the win against Washington this year, do we win another game? Do we try to be competitive as we can be? Or do we just say, hey, you know what? Let's go out there and be competitive as we can, but let's try to maintain our draft position. Because right now it's just basically looking like a dumpster fire for the G-men at this point, right? Like I said, I'm completely at a loss of words at this point. And it hurts. It hurts. As a, for those of you who practically see me on Twitter rant and rave sometimes, me taking my stuff out of my profile and out of my bio just because I was just upset and infuriated with this team. And I really didn't want us to go back into that phase where it's just like, oh, we've had unsuccessful seasons, like consecutive unsuccessful seasons, season after season. And it was just infuriating. It was all infuriating to me. And I didn't want to have to relive that. So of course I'm upset. Of course I want this team to do better, right? And now us sitting at 3-8, facing off against the Patriots and what could be a tank bowl if it's not already called that already. Where do we go from here? I don't know. Do we go quarterback? Do we go wide receiver? Do we go O line? I don't know. I have no idea. But like I said, we still have 6 games left. Let's just try to go out there and be as fiercely competitive as we can be, right? And that's that. There's no really sugarcoating this. There's no really beating around the bush for it. It is what it is. And that's that, right? And that's that. So to recap, this season hasn't been what we've expected, especially for us Giants fans. We won yesterday against the Commanders, so now we did our annual sweep of the Commanders as we always do. And next week we're gonna and then next week we're gonna try to go out there and face off against the New England Patriots to at least be competitive and just to try to maintain our draft position for the upcoming draft. And that's that. Uh, and that's pretty much all I have to say for this episode. Like I said, thank you guys so much for tuning in. I will try to do more shows on a daily basis. So right after this, I'm gonna schedule another show for next week. And if you guys want to hop in and talk about Giants football, this, that, and the third, then I will be more than happy to have you guys on here. I really appreciate each and every one of you. Jesus Christ, and there's a whole lot. And one more thing, shout out to the sports affiliation because you guys absolutely rock for real. And you guys are basically what just keeps this thing going. And I appreciate each and every one of you down at the sports affiliation. And you guys can also find me and the sports affiliation here on Twitter. I do have my username tagged right alongside my name so that you guys can find me on Twitter. But yeah, with that being said, this has been a good show, and this has been presented by yours truly. So, to all the G-men out there, keep your head up and stay strong. Take care, guys.